Well, hi, I'm Pastor Scott,
And I'm Pastor Cathy.
and welcome to this week's children's sermon. Well, as we mentioned last week, we are in the season of Advent. And Advent is a time when Christians prepare to celebrate the birth of Jesus as a baby, as he comes to us in the manger as a baby, and as he comes to us daily in our lives, and as he will come to us at the end of time.
On December 6th, we observe St. Nicholas Day. And Nicholas is an Advent saint because his life clearly reflected the way each one of us is called to show God's love to others, especially those in need.
So Nicholas lived a long time ago in a land known as Asia Minor, modern-day Turkey. And his parents, who were Christians, were quite wealthy. But unfortunately, they died when he was young. And so Nicholas took his inheritance, the money that they had left him, and he followed Jesus' command to sell what you have and give the money to those in need. And so he was known for helping those who were poor, for those who were sick, those who were suffering. Nicholas dedicated his life to serving God, and eventually became the bishop of Myra. So Bishop Nicholas was known throughout the land for his great generosity to those who were in need, and he was also known for his love for children and for his concern for those who sailed on the seas.
There are many stories that are told about Bishop Nicholas, but one of the most famous stories tells of a poor man with 3 daughters. In those days, a young woman's father had to provide prospective husbands with something of value that was called a dowry. And without a dowry, a woman was unlikely to marry. Well, this poor man's 3 daughters, without dowries, were therefore destined to be sold into slavery. They wouldn't have been able to get married. So mysteriously, on 3 different occasions, a bag of gold appeared in this poor man's house, providing the needed dowries so that the women could get married and not be sold into slavery. The bags of gold, it is said, tossed through an open window, are said to have landed in stockings or shoes left before the fire to dry.
Wait a minute, they landed in stockings left before the fire to dry?
That's how the story goes.
Well, we've got stockings that are hanging before the fire. I wonder if you might have stockings somewhere hanging in your house.
Well, the story is what led to the custom of children and families hanging stockings or putting out shoes in the hopes that something good would fall into them.
So there are many ways that we kind of keep the memory of St. Nicholas or St. Nick alive these days. But many people continue to keep the memory of Nicholas and the way that he served God with his life alive by holding a feast and going to worship on December 6th, today, the day that St. Nicholas died. So Nicholas lived his life to help others know the baby Jesus, that in Jesus God has come into the world. And St. Nicholas lived his life to share the love of Jesus with all people through giving gifts and through his generosity and through his kindness, especially to those who are in need.
And we can follow St. Nicholas's example, which is really following Jesus' example, right? By being kind, generous, and by giving gifts, especially to those who are hurting or sad or needy.
So, in honor of St. Nicholas, we invite you this week to do a secret act of kindness to another person. Maybe somebody in your family or a neighbor or someone you know who needs to know that they are thought about and loved. And remembering the story of the gifts that were landing in the stockings that had been hung by the fire, we also invite you to consider donating a pair or several pairs of new socks to either Nest at First Lutheran or to the winter shelter at Good Shepherd to help those who are homeless.
You can drop off your socks at the church or call your church office and we can arrange for someone to pick them up.
So again, a very happy St. Nicholas Day to you all.